We are so happy to get a chance to be able to talk about how wonderful our experience was working with Anshul and Matisha, Dexterity Events, the whole team. It was honestly a lifesaver on so many levels. I think we felt so grateful for how responsive the team was. I've had experiences like working with other vendors where it's hard to get your point across, and you really feel like you're sort of fighting your battle to get your vision achieved. And with Anshul and Matisha, it was really seamless. I feel like every time we gave them a note, they were quick to adapt and edit. They really went above and beyond too, with lots of little touches in our wedding. Um, I just felt like they really understood us. They took the time to understand us. They took the time to think about things that we might want that we hadn't even thought of. And they made our event a huge success. We had so many compliments. Now we're sitting at the end of the weekend. We just feel so happy with how it turned out. And every event, the decor was spectacular, the food was spectacular, their sort of service for the guests was spectacular. I know, especially for my family who was traveling abroad, and a lot of our friends were traveling from abroad, it was just so reassuring to have a team that was that diligent and thoughtful and able to help out. So, yeah, we could not say enough good things. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Mohit.
Yeah, I mean, a huge plus one to that. As Julia was saying, we really struggled in the early few months of our wedding planning to find someone who could resonate with what we wanted. And it felt like we were pulling teeth a little bit trying to explain what we were looking for out of our wedding, and how it needed to be different from like a traditional Indian wedding because we wanted to incorporate elements of Julia's culture too. Um, and with Anshul, Matisha, and Dexterity as a whole, it felt like it was so much smoother. They got on board right away. It felt like very quickly, as soon as we like spoke to them, they were in our corner. Even before we signed them on, like Anshul was offering sage advice in our first
Yeah.
conversation about what we should and shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And that continued through the whole relationship. I think Anshul and Matisha, both have a really tactful way of telling you what will and won't work. And that was so important to us because, as someone who hasn't spent the last few years in India, I didn't know what the latest trends were, what was expected, what wasn't either.
Right.
And I don't think we could have done this without their help. I have been telling guests all weekend that if I have one tip from this wedding, it is to get a wedding planner you like. And I think that was definitely true for Anshul, Matisha, and Dexterity for us. Also, one special thing that stood out to me was how helpful Anshul was in the 3 days of the event itself. Like, it was almost like having a family member look out for you across various things, whether it was making sure that all the guests were fed properly, whether it was making sure they had a good time, whether it was arranging transport. It always felt like we had an extra person in our corner, which was so important in making us feel like we could just enjoy the event. And so I couldn't
Right.
recommend them highly enough. Another thing that feels special about Anshul is it feels like he has really good relationships with all the vendors he contracts.
Yeah.
We've worked with photographers, decor people, sound people, DJs, etc., who came on board because of relationships they had with him, and have gone above and beyond in the services they've offered to us. And I don't think that would have been possible unless Dexterity and Anshul and the way they work was fair towards the people that they contract. And so that also felt really important to us and has really stood out in the way this event has sort of panned out.
Yeah, if I could add one thing to that, I think overall, like what I was really grateful for, in addition to Until feeling like family, is like we just had this really strong foundation of trust from very early on. And that's really important, I think, and very reassuring to have when you're traveling, or sorry, when you're planning a wedding from abroad. With us being in New York and Anshul and Matisha being in India, it really it was helpful to have them to navigate all the nuances, but it was also like so critical that we trusted them to get everything done, and they did. They really like again went above and beyond, and I really hope that we stay in touch as a result, because again, it feels like their family. We're so grateful, and could not recommend them more to other folks who are also planning a wedding, especially one abroad, where they're looking for that level of support and trust. So, yeah.
They do meet calls on a regular basis with clients, which I found
Yeah.
very hard to convince other wedding planners to
Google
do.
Meet.
Yeah, Google Meet
Yeah,
calls.
video conferencing. And like late night calls, they were really accommodating to our schedule, which was so thoughtful. So yeah, we're super appreciative.
Yeah.